another update on my burnout slash anxiety journey. I would say I am in the recovery phase. It's a weird stage because I do feel like I have a bit more energy and I do feel, I guess, somewhat less anxious, and my sleep is a bit better. So, like, the symptoms of, like anxiety, depression, slash burnout are better, but deep down, I guess I don't feel like that great. Like, now that I feel like I have some capacity to work, it's like, okay, well, it's good that I do have some capacity to work, a few hours in like a casual job. But I feel like I'm not ready to kind of go back to marketing, what I was doing full time originally, because it's just a lot more complex than, like, say, I don't know, like working at like a warehouse, which is what I applied for. You wonder, I guess what the rest of your life will be like if you can't really, I guess, work full time. Which I've gone through in a previous video about how I don't think I can like healthily work full time anymore. So if you want to have a look at that, you can check it out. I've just been kind of, I guess, somewhat feeling depressed lately because I've finished working on this bike. I've been fixing up old bikes that I get off Facebook and like selling them. But you start thinking like 10, 20, 30 years ahead, and you're like, okay, like what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like, I'm just gonna stay at home and fix bikes for fun and make like barely any money, or am I gonna like work part time as well? But then if I work part time, like what will I be doing? Will it be marketing? Am I just gonna be like doing like minimum wage, or I don't know what to call them, like I guess casual jobs, or simple jobs for the rest of my life. So I found it hard to accept that because of my mental health and my autism and ADHD, I can't really work full time like anymore. I mean, I could, but I would probably, you know, most likely like burn out again, and that would be very bad. I'm 27, so for my whole life, I had this. I wouldn't say it was a dream. I don't think anyone dreams of working full time. But I had this idea that that's something that I could do, despite my mental health challenges earlier in life, and then getting diagnosed with autism and ADHD later in life. I was like, despite all that, I can still do it. That's kind of the thought that drove me forward. That I could, I guess, be like a normal person. Now, after experiencing some very severe autistic burnout, I've had to really, step back and, ask myself if I can really sustainably work full time. And the short answer is no. I mean, obviously, maybe if it was like, just the right role, I could do it full time. But I doubt such a role exists. How do you accept not being able to work full time when you've been raised your whole life and you've thought your whole life that it's something you could do, and you've tried to do it, different jobs. Even tried. The last thing I did was I tried starting a business, and that didn't go well either. So I don't know. There's a certain point, I guess, in every, I guess, disabled slash autistic, whatever person's life, where I guess they just have to draw a line and say, this is what I can do, part-time work, and this is what I can't do, full-time work. And I think this is that moment for me, and now that I do have some capacity to work, I'm starting to really feel that, I guess, grief and sadness of not being, able to fulfill that ideal anymore, that society imposes upon us, that, we all have to be working full time, especially like for men. I guess for women, it's not so much of a thing. Societal stuff aside, it's like, how can you like really accept that you're never going to be as financially successful or secure as, you know, your peers, as your friends, you know, that are working full time and that are actually building a career. Now, I'm not saying you can't build a career working part time, but it's very difficult. Especially in my field, marketing, there's not a lot of part time roles out there, unfortunately. And the ones that I guess do exist are like more like, I guess, contract roles where, like, you know, you might be doing a little work here for one company and a little bit of work for another company, but it's not like very stable. Chasing that dream of, you know, being normal, neurotypical, and being productive is a big dopamine rush for me. You know, that was kind of what motivated me to keep pushing myself and, you know, putting myself into uncomfortable situations and failing heaps, and burning out and, you know, going on and on and on until I couldn't. But now, since I've given up on that, you know, hope of working full time, I feel like, yeah, there's not that much left to motivate me anymore to keep moving forward. I mean, obviously part-time work is better than not working at all, of course, but, you know, it kind of feels like an admission of defeat in a way, because, you know, you can't meet that standard anymore of a, you know, neurotypical person. And yeah, obviously I'm not a neurotypical person, you know, I'm quite disabled. I've had a lot of this mental health struggles and currently still do. So obviously, you know, it's not fair for me to compare myself to someone who's, you know, super healthy or, I guess, at least neurotypical. But, you know, in this, you know, society we live in, it's hard not to, I suppose, compare yourself to other people. It's just letting go of who you thought you could be is really hard. You know, when you've had that idea for your whole life, and only in the past few years have you begun to question it. Though, to be honest, like, I think I've always questioned being able to work full time and, you know, I guess, live a normal life. Like, ever since I was a kid, I guess it's something I worried about, you know, how was I going to cope with the real world and working full time? Obviously, back then I didn't know I was autistic. I guess deep down, I just knew that as I grew up and there were more demands put on me, that I would struggle. Yeah, and I guess for some autistic people, yeah, they do have, I guess, a lot of adult thought or adult ways of thinking, when they're still children. Yeah, now I am in adulthood, I'm a full adult. And yes, what I worried about as a child has come to fruition. And obviously I'm not a child anymore, so I've, you know, developed coping strategies and, you know, gained a lot of life experience, tried a lot of things, failed a lot of things, succeeded at a few things. But yeah, right now, I don't know, I'm still waiting for that Australia post roles come back, so the postal facility role. So I should be applying for more jobs, but I just don't have the capacity to, I guess, handle that many things at once. My advice for, I guess, any other people struggling with this dilemma, whether, I guess, you're disabled or, you know, or you don't even have like a diagnosis and you just feel that you can't work full time for whatever reason, I would just say just focus on the next steps, or I guess focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. Because at the end of the day, you know, you can't control everything 100%. Some things are just out of your control. And you know, you don't really know what will happen in like 1 year or, you know, 10 years time. I guess, but what you do know is, I guess, what can happen tomorrow, what you can do tomorrow. You can do one good thing or one productive thing, even if it's a little thing like, you know, I don't know, cleaning dishes or making food or whatever. Don't, I guess, get too caught up in, you know, the future or where things will ultimately end up, because, you know, who the fuck knows where things will end up. And meet yourself where you're at. So if you can only work 8 hours a week, or 2 days a week, whatever it is that you can do, just do that and do it well. And yeah, don't beat yourself up about not being able to do more than you're able to do, because at the end of the day, you know your limits. And yeah, especially if you suffer from burnout, or I guess have other mental illnesses, then yeah, it's best to be conservative with your energy and your health rather than pushing it, as I have experienced myself. Yeah, that's what's happening. I think I'm on the right track, but it's just, there's always setbacks. Yeah, I'm just really starting to accept where I'm at and what I can really do. Seeing value in myself beyond how many hours I can work or how much money I can make. Because right now I'm not really making any money or working. If that's all that my worth is determined by, then I would be absolutely miserable. I'm trying to be more kind to myself, and yeah, I guess appreciate who I am and guess what I can do rather than what I can't. At the end of the day, I suppose, we all have one life. And yeah, some people are the ambitious type, and they can really, I guess, grind it out and put in the hours and still be happy and healthy. But for people like myself, we just can't grind it out. We can't just, put in the hours like everyone else. That is a path to burnout, anxiety, depression, and, even, worse things, which I will not discuss in this video. I think every day that you get up and you try to do something is a win, in my eyes, because for us disabled folks, we're playing life in hard mode. So if we can get like even simple things done, I would say that's a big win. So yeah, just we got to keep on going, and yeah, find a way, find what works for us, live within our limits, and yeah, respect our bodies and our minds, because if we don't, then it's just an endless cycle of burnout, which is fucking awful. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have to be that perfect version of myself that I, always aim to be. I can just be me, and I think that's enough. Peace out, folks.